Hey, it's Scott Bywater here, and I want to talk about a book I read recently, and the name of this book is They Ask You Answer by a guy called Marcus Sheridan. And what Marcus found was that he basically took an analysis of buyers and or of leads. So he looked at, I forget the exact number, but let's say it's 100 leads. And he said, okay, we've got 50 of these leads bought and 50 of these leads didn't buy. And then it's like, what's the difference between these leads? What made the difference? And I recently asked this question when I did a talk, and people were like, was it that, they were different types of customers, or was it that, one group, was unqualified and one group wasn't, and all of this sort of thing. So there was a number of, things that came up. So we had 50 customers who bought and 50 customers who didn't buy, or 50 leads who bought, 50 leads who didn't buy. And it's like, what's the difference between these leads? Now, when he did the analysis, the fascinating thing between the leads who bought and the leads who didn't buy was quite simply that the ones who bought had looked at 30 pieces of content. Okay, so this is powerful, because this is the new way that customers are buying. So what we've got these days is we've got an empowered consumer. You as a consumer are empowered. I as a consumer are empowered. And when we want to buy something, what do? We pick up, I can't pick it up now because I'm looking at it, but we pick up our mobile phones and we look at it and we do a Google search. So for instance, if you look at this here, is my pool fence, just here. I don't know where my hand goes, just here. So my pool fence, and if you look at this pool fence, when we got it a while ago, we did searches, we looked around and we talked to pool fence buyers, and we did some research on it. Now, years ago, you wouldn't have done that research. You just wouldn't have done that research. So now we can go up and we can look at, the difference between, glass fence and other types of fence. We can Google, how much should you pay for a pool fence? We can Google all these questions. Now, what was interesting when we actually purchased this pool fence is we didn't actually do any, we couldn't find a lot of this data. We found a little bit, but if there was a pool fence provider, who had, 100, 200, 300 articles that were online, then we would have looked through a lot of those, articles and a lot of that content. So this is what's really critical. When you're thinking about how to sell today, think, what questions do my customers have? What are they asking? What are they wondering? What's the conversation that's going through my customer's mind? And write that down, and get that down. They want to know how much your product's going to cost. They want to know, things like, how's it compare to, let's say, or how do different variations of the product compare to other variations? They've got all these questions that are going through their head. So start to create content on it and think about the way that you buy as well. So how do you go about buying when it's you? And I bet you pick up your phone, you look online and you start to do research. And if someone's not there, unlike what happened 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, if someone is not there when you start doing your research, they don't even get the phone call. They don't even get, the connection. Nobody even reaches out. So in summary, basically, when you're selling, remember that, where people buy, in the example I gave in the first, 50 buyers, 50 non-buyers, what was the difference? The buyers, had actually looked through all this content and dove in, and therefore, because they'd gone through the content, they'd established a level of trust. They'd established a level of relationship. So, start to ask, well, what do my customers want to know? And then start to, to serve that need in order to win that trust, because these days sales are made on trust. And if you're not developing trust, if you're not, getting, that content, the relationship out there, you're not even getting the phone call in the first place. That's it for me for now. Thanks for tuning in. I'll chat to you again later. Cheers.